Hello everyone, welcome back to the Magpie Channel TV. We are joined here outside St James's Park by Sky Sports' Keith Downie. Keith, thanks for joining me on what's been a crazy day for yourself, I suppose. Run me through that timeline of the past 24 hours.
For me?
For you, for Sky, for most importantly, Alexander Isak.
Yeah, well, firstly for me, very quickly, I've actually been somewhere else over the last 24 hours doing another story. So, as usual, when these things happen, you're never in position. You're always somewhere else, and it makes things a little bit more awkward. But yeah, I have to say, it caught us on. I think if you speak to any journalist involved with Newcastle United, I think they'll admit that the move for Isak yesterday caught us on the hop. We weren't expecting the club to go back in for him in the fashion that they have done in the last 24 hours. We were aware that the club wanted him earlier on in the window. The information I was given back then was that he was going to cost too much, both in wages and price tag, and it sounded as though that was it. It was final, they wouldn't go back in. It feels very much like the injury to Callum Wilson at the weekend, and obviously we don't know exactly how long it's going to keep him out, but even if it's a short-term injury, I think it's maybe just focused minds a little bit within the camp, within the management team, that, and the owners I think as well, that they need to bring someone else in that can come and compete with Wilson and step in if and when he is injured. And obviously we've been talking about João Pedro, but I think in Isak, this is a player that Eddie Howe has wanted for a long time, been very keen to bring in, and I think they've just managed to get their heads together, push the button, realise it's still there. They've went in with a mega bucks offer, and they've pretty much got the man. He's here on Tyneside right now, as we've been reporting all day, undergone his medical this afternoon, arrived at noon alongside Steve Nixon and Dan Ashworth, and he's been ferried around Tyneside, Newcastle this afternoon, completing that deal. So essentially we're just waiting now, I think, on confirmation.
We know it's a record signing for Newcastle. It's going to be £58 million with a few extra million in add-ons. You mentioned the wages there don't seem to be a problem. We should have that wrapped up tonight. Any idea, will he become Newcastle's top earner at the club?
Yeah, I think if he's not the top earner, he'll be right up there. I think the big earners coming at the club now are all earning round about 100,000, maybe slightly a little bit more than that.
Even Chris Wood, it's on 100 grand apparently.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if he's on that much, but I think the likes of Sven Botman and Bruno and Kieran Trippier are all on round about 100,000, maybe a little bit more than that. So I think Alexander Isak will be in that bracket as well, and rightly so. He's not just the record transfer, is he? He's smashed the record transfer by some 20, potentially £23 million. I mean, it is a huge statement from Newcastle United at this juncture of the window to spend that amount of money. Now, it will be structured payments. They're not going to spend 58 straight up. It will be structured over the next couple of windows, but still they are still spending that money, and as you said to me earlier on, it feels like it's a statement of intent to the rest of the clubs, and it feels very much like Newcastle saying, we're here, we're real now, we've strengthened the defence, but we're now bringing in a world-class striker and making it a record transfer at the same time.
Do you think that obviously we mentioned the injury to Callum Wilson maybe pushing the gun a little bit for Newcastle owners to act? I mean, were you surprised? Because there's a lot of journalists out there that said Newcastle wouldn't splash the big sums that we're seeing on Isak. It might have took a few people by surprise that they've managed to pull that out of the bag, because they were on about spreading it across windows to come, weren't they?
Well, listen, I was one of them. I mean, I was surprised yesterday when I heard that they were back in for him. I've been sort of relaying the message that Newcastle have only got a certain amount to spend this window. We know they made an offer for James Maddison in the region of 40 million. It was my information that was pretty much all they had left to spend. Obviously Isak is more than that, but I think the way they're structuring this deal is that they're not spending 58 or 60 straight up. It's going to be a fraction of that. It's going to be a percentage of that, and then probably a percentage of it in 6 months' time, and then in a year's time. So they will get there eventually to that amount, but they're managed to structure a deal that works for Newcastle and keeps them within financial fair play. And as you allude to there, and I've touched on already, I just think the injury to Wilson at the weekend, and him having the scan on Monday, just made them think, hang on, we really need to add here, and we need to add a centre forward, not a winger, not someone. We need to add someone who can come in and lead the line. And I wonder whether maybe Newcastle should have thought that at the start of the window, but they didn't. They've given Wilson a try, and obviously we all know he's a quality player, but it looks as though he is going to be plagued with these issues, and they're just going to have to deal with it and bring someone else in, and they've decided to do that. And but this is what these owners do. We saw it with Bruno in January when that kind of came out of the blue, and they've done it again now. So it's one of these situations now at Newcastle where we don't know what's going to happen, and sometimes the unexpected just lands in our lap, and I think it makes it a lot more interesting and exciting to certainly report on, and I'm sure it's the same for you guys as fans.
I'm a much bigger fan of a transfer coming out of the blue like this, instead of hearing weeks of rejections.
Absolutely,
or they're interested, they might approach them, and then within 24 hours that's what you want to see. And not only is Alexander Isak being here today, but so is Sam Fender and a couple of other Newcastle legends in the building there behind us, and that shows how much of a big deal this is, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm wondering why they're in there.
Whoa.
Well, maybe when we find
stadium tour, I think Sam Fender was on.
Yeah. I mean, he's never been in before, of course. Let's see why they were in there. But yeah, I mean, you can sense the excitement. Obviously, a lot of supporters coming up here and chatting to us this afternoon as well. And it's not quite the scenes when Alan Shearer signed, or the scenes when the takeover went through. But I think step by step, it feels to me like the engagement between the club and the fans is back, and it's a phrase that's gone around for a long time, but it feels as though there's a buzz around the place again, and everyone's enjoying being a Newcastle United supporter again. Just one little story, I get people coming up to me all the time and saying, "Oh, you're just down here from the day from Scotland, are you just down?" And I'm like, no, I live down here, I live. All right, I thought you just came. No, I've lived here for nearly 9 years now. All right. And I think it's people who probably pre-takeover were so disengaged with everything and they didn't know what was going on, and now suddenly, because they want every little snippet of news and want to talk about all the time, and are on Twitter and are on Sky and are on websites and everywhere, they're now like, oh, there's this guy who's there from the takeover. Well, by the way, I was there before that. I was there like you fans. I was there in the bad days as well.
Yeah, that's it. And it's the same now with YouTube channels and Twitter pages, people popping up left, right and centre since the takeover. But we've been here before. Where were you when you were shit? That's the chant for me. To all these people that are popping up everywhere. But